If you ever move into a farmhouse in the countryside, pay attention to the houses around you, especially the ones that are supposed to be empty, because sometimes the people watching you aren't your neighbors, and sometimes they shouldn't be there at all. Years later, Tyler Reed still avoids driving through rural Iowa at night. He avoids cornfields, he avoids isolated farmhouses, and whenever he sees a light shining from a distant window after dark, he remembers the house across the field. This is Tales of the Dark. And this is the story of the house across the cornfield. 22-year-old Tyler Reed inherited his grandfather's farmhouse shortly after graduating college. The property sat outside a small Iowa town surrounded by miles of farmland. It wasn't much, a weathered white farmhouse, a small barn, and endless cornfields stretching toward the horizon, but it was free, and for Tyler that was enough. Life was peaceful at first. The nearest neighbor lived more than a mile away. Most nights were quiet except for the sound of insects and wind moving through the crops. Then one evening, Tyler noticed something strange, a light far across the cornfield. At first he assumed it belonged to a nearby farm, but after studying it more carefully, he realized the light came from an abandoned farmhouse, a farmhouse locals claimed had been empty for nearly 15 years. The following morning, Tyler mentioned it at a gas station. The cashier immediately frowned. "You saw a light?" "Yeah." The woman looked uncomfortable, probably just kids, but her tone suggested otherwise. Tyler didn't think much of it until the next night. The light appeared again, same window, same room, same time, just after midnight. Curious, Tyler grabbed a pair of binoculars. The upstairs window came into focus. His stomach tightened. Someone stood inside, a person perfectly still, watching his property. The figure remained motionless for nearly 20 minutes. Then the light switched off. The figure vanished. Tyler convinced himself it was probably a squatter, maybe a trespasser, maybe a local teenager, anything but what his imagination suggested. The next evening he checked again. The light returned, so did the figure, but this time something was different. The person appeared closer to the window, much closer. Close enough that Tyler could make out a rough outline. A man, tall, thin, standing completely still. Watching, the sight made Tyler uncomfortable. He considered calling the sheriff, but what would he report? Someone standing in a house. The following morning he drove across the field. The abandoned farmhouse looked worse up close. Broken windows, collapsed porch, rotting walls, the front door hung open. Inside, dust covered everything, no furniture, no food, no evidence anyone lived there. Yet when Tyler reached the second floor, he found footprints, fresh footprints, leading directly to the upstairs window. His stomach dropped. Someone had definitely been there. That night he locked every door, every window, then he waited. Shortly after midnight, the light appeared again. Tyler grabbed the binoculars. His blood ran cold. The figure was gone from the abandoned house. The upstairs window was empty. Then he noticed something, a silhouette standing among the corn, halfway between the abandoned house and his farm, watching. The next night the figure appeared even closer, and the next night closer still. Each evening it stood silently in the field, never moving, never leaving. Simply watching. Then one morning Tyler stepped outside and froze. Fresh footprints covered the dirt path leading to his porch. One set, beginning in the cornfield, ending at his front door, none leading away. That night, shortly after midnight, someone knocked, 3 slow knocks directly on his front door. The end of that story. 27-year-old Megan Foster had been searching for an affordable apartment in Chicago for nearly 3 months. Rent prices were ridiculous. Most decent places were far beyond her budget. Then she found the Ashford, a modern high-rise located downtown. The building was clean, safe, and surprisingly cheap, almost too cheap. The leasing agent claimed a tenant had moved out unexpectedly and management needed someone to occupy the unit quickly. Megan signed the lease the same day. At first, everything seemed normal. Her apartment was located on the 14th floor. The building itself felt quiet and professional. Most residents kept to themselves. For the first week, nothing unusual happened. Then Megan noticed apartment 1408. The apartment sat at the very end of the hallway. Its door was painted the same color as every other unit. The problem was simple. According to the building directory, apartment 1408 didn't exist. The floor contained apartments 1401 through 1407, then 1409, no 1408, yet the door was clearly there. Megan assumed it was a numbering mistake. One evening she mentioned it to a neighbor. The reaction immediately caught her attention. The older woman became visibly uncomfortable, then changed the subject. The next day Megan asked a maintenance worker. The man stared at her, then quietly said, "Stay away from that door," before walking away. No explanation, no details, nothing. Over the next few days, her curiosity only grew. She began paying closer attention. Every night around 2 in the morning, strange sounds came from apartment 1408. Furniture scraping, footsteps, doors opening and closing. The sounds continued for hours, yet Megan never saw anyone enter or leave. One night she decided to investigate. The hallway was empty, silent. She slowly approached the apartment. The noises stopped immediately. Megan stood outside the door, listening, nothing. Then she noticed something strange. The apartment door had no peephole, no welcome mat, no unit number, just a plain door. As she turned to leave, a sound came from the other side. A single slow knock. Megan froze. The knock came from inside the apartment, as though someone had knocked directly against the door from the interior, then another, and another. The sound followed her all the way back down the hallway. The next morning she contacted management. The property manager looked confused. Apartment 1408. Yes, there isn't an apartment 1408. Megan felt irritation rising. I literally walk past it every day. The manager shook his head, then pulled up the building plans. The end of the hallway appeared on screen. According to the blueprint, there was no apartment there, only a wall. That night Megan couldn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning the noises returned, footsteps, dragging furniture, movement. This time she opened her door and looked outside. The hallway was empty. But apartment 1408 stood at the end exactly where it always had. Then something happened. The apartment door slowly opened, only a few inches. Darkness filled the gap. Megan's pulse quickened. Nobody emerged, nobody spoke. The door simply remained open. For several seconds she stared, then she saw movement. A face, someone standing inside, watching her. Megan slammed her apartment door shut, locked it, then backed away. She spent the remainder of the night awake. The following morning she checked the hallway. Apartment 1408 appeared completely normal. The door was closed, everything looked unchanged. Until she noticed something lying outside her apartment, a folded piece of paper. Megan picked it up. Her stomach immediately tightened. The paper appeared old, yellowed with age. Across the top were handwritten words. Tenants of apartment 1408. Below it sat a list of names, dozens of them, stretching back nearly 20 years. Some names had dates beside them, others didn't. At the very bottom, a new name had been added, written in fresh ink. Megan Foster. That night, shortly before 2 in the morning, someone knocked on her apartment door, 3 slow knocks. When she looked through the peephole, the hallway was empty, except for apartment 1408. Its door was standing open again, and this time, someone was standing inside holding her apartment keys. The end of that story. 29-year-old Brandon Hayes worked as a regional delivery driver in rural Montana. His routes often took him through isolated highways, small towns, and long stretches of countryside where he could drive for an hour without seeing another vehicle. He enjoyed the solitude most of the time. One autumn afternoon, Brandon stopped at a gas station outside a tiny farming community called Hollow Creek. While paying for fuel, he overheard 2 older men discussing road closures. One of them pointed toward a narrow county road on a map. The moment he did, the other man immediately shook his head. Nobody uses that road after dark. Brandon laughed. Why not? Neither man answered right away. Finally, one of them spoke, because some people never make it to the other side. The comment drew nervous laughter from the others in the store. Brandon assumed it was some local ghost story, nothing more. Later that evening, while checking his route, he noticed the road in question could save nearly 40 minutes. It seemed like an easy decision. Shortly after sunset, Brandon turned onto the county road. The route cut through rolling farmland and dense patches of forest. No streetlights, no houses, no traffic, only darkness. At first everything felt normal. Then rain began falling. A light drizzle at first, then heavier, visibility dropped. The road became increasingly difficult to see. Around 10 o'clock, Brandon noticed headlights ahead. A pickup truck sat parked beside the road. Its hood was raised. A man stood nearby waving for help. Brandon slowed. The man appeared middle-aged, wearing a dark rain jacket, completely ordinary, but something felt wrong. The road was empty. No other vehicles, no signs of trouble, just the man standing there, waving. Brandon considered stopping, then remembered the strange warning from the gas station. Without really knowing why, he continued driving. In his mirror, he watched the man disappear into the darkness. 10 minutes later, Brandon rounded a curve. His hands tightened around the steering wheel. The same pickup truck sat beside the road. The same hood was raised. The same man stood there, waving, exactly the same. Brandon stared in disbelief. There was no way the truck hadn't passed him. There were no side roads, no shortcuts, nothing. Yet somehow the man was ahead of him again, waiting, waving. This time Brandon accelerated. The rain intensified. His heartbeat quickened. He kept checking the mirrors. The truck remained behind, or so he thought. 20 minutes later, the headlights appeared again. The same pickup, the same location, the same man still waving, still smiling. Brandon's blood ran cold. This time he noticed something different. The man's smile, it never changed, not once. No matter how long Brandon looked, the expression remained frozen, unnatural, like a photograph. Fear settled into his stomach. He pushed the vehicle faster. The road seemed endless now. Every mile looked identical. Every turn looked familiar. Then he saw another set of headlights approaching from behind, fast, very fast. Brandon glanced into the mirror. A pickup truck, the same pickup truck. His pulse exploded. The vehicle closed the distance rapidly. Rain hammered the windshield. The truck followed only a few feet behind. Its headlights filled the mirror. Then came the horn, one long blast. The sound echoed across the countryside. Brandon accelerated. The pickup matched his speed. Then came another horn blast, and another. The truck stayed directly behind him, close enough that Brandon could see the driver's face. The same smiling man watching him. The smile never changed. For nearly 15 terrifying minutes, the truck followed him. The road remained empty. No houses, no traffic, no help, only the pursuing headlights. Then, without warning, the truck pulled alongside him. Brandon refused to look. He kept his eyes on the road. The horn sounded again, louder this time. Finally, curiosity got the better of him. He glanced sideways. The driver's seat was empty. No one sat behind the wheel. No one. Yet the truck continued, matching his speed perfectly. The sight nearly caused him to lose control. He jerked the steering wheel. The delivery van skidded. Tires screamed against wet pavement. When he looked back toward the pickup, it was gone, completely gone. The road beside him was empty. The road behind him was empty. Only darkness remained. A few minutes later, Brandon finally reached the next town. He pulled into a gas station and immediately told the clerk what had happened. The man's expression changed the moment Brandon mentioned the road. Without speaking, the clerk walked behind the counter and removed an old newspaper clipping. The article was nearly 30 years old. The headline described a fatal accident on the same road. A pickup truck had crashed during a storm. The driver was killed instantly. Brandon studied the photograph accompanying the article. His stomach dropped. The image showed the driver standing beside his truck, wearing a dark rain jacket, smiling, the same smile, the same face, the same man. Brandon never used that road again. Years later, he still drives professionally. But whenever a route suggests County Road 17, he chooses another way. Because some nights when heavy rain falls and the highway is empty, he catches something in his mirrors. headlights far behind him, keeping pace, never getting closer, never falling back. And on the rare occasions he gathers enough courage to look carefully, he can just make out a man behind the wheel, smiling, waiting, as though he's hoping Brandon will eventually pull over if you are brave enough to hear more nightmares. Subscribe to Tales of the Dark, and if you have your own terrifying experience, leave it in the comments or send your story by email. Maybe your nightmare will become the next story told here.